Can everybody hear me?
No.
Okay. We're going to try. We'll try it. So I want to thank you all for coming. My name is H. Russell Talbot. I'm running against Congressman David Cicilline. I want to thank Dr. Charles Jacob for inviting me to speak here because I just actually want to highlight the fact that we're not anti-Muslim. We're not anti-Islam. I am a Jew. I am a Jew. So the fact that you're calling me anti-Judaism is a lie. Because I am a Jew, and I'm not against anti-Muslim. What I'm against is, what I want is to be safe and secure. That is my reason why. No, you do not. It's okay. You're welcome to. But I believe in safety and security for all Rhode Islanders, and that's why we're having this press conference. That's why we're discussing. We want to make sure that the people coming into the state are properly vetted. Until they are, we cannot allow them to come into Rhode Island. We need to be safe and secure. As your congressman, it's my vital duty to ensure your safety and security. That is our sole job as a congressman. It's one of many competing jobs. So unfortunately, I'm very grateful to see all of you here.
Does anyone here know anything about the
right to speak, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Charles Jacob right now, who's going to be the MC of today's event and introduce all the speakers. Dr. Charles Jacobs.
I had a long talk with your organizer, and we had a 40-minute conversation. And I asked him, what race am I against? And he said, well, it's really not race, but we use that word anyway. So it's not being honest.
Who did you talk to? Not us!
We've come here today.
Stop being so rude! Stop being so racist!
What race? What race?
We'll be polite when you let refugees into the state of Rhode Island!
We've come here today to call on Governor Raimondo to reconsider her unconditional welcome of Syrian refugees whose culture fundamentally rejects our way of life. We are proud that America is a country of immigrants. We welcome people who come here to join us and bolster our way of life. We do see and we sympathize with people fleeing war and violence. I'm going to tell you if you let me talk. I know a lot about Syrian culture. But an influx of Syrian refugees may pose a significant danger to Rhode Islanders, especially to certain communities in Rhode Island, namely gays, women, and most especially Jews. All Rhode Islanders would face danger. 3 top Obama administration, that's your guy's guy, 3 top Obama administration officials have told us that Syrian refugees cannot be properly vetted for their possible connection to terror or their possible advocacy of jihadist ideology. Well, don't listen to me. FBI Director James Comey said, quote, "We can query our databases until the cows come home, but nothing will show up because we have no record of them."
That's not true! That's true, it's a lie!
Congressman Peter King, Chairman of... Is it a lie that he said that?
Yes, I said that.
Congressman Peter King, Chairman of Homeland Security, said there is absolutely no real way of vetting these refugees.
Even made it to America.
You know, if you don't want to... James Clapper, Director of National Intelligence, says he has a huge concern about ISIS's ability to infiltrate the country via Syrian refugees. I didn't make that up, he said it.
No, people like you created ISIS.
All Americans and Rhode Islanders are thus put at risk. However, not inconsequential, no one has raised amidst all the national discussion the very serious question of the deeply ingrained hatred of the West in our way of life that is embedded in Syria. Well, you know what? If you shout me down, that shows you don't respect the American way of life. We have civil discourse. Significant and unique threat to the Jewish community, and I'll explain why. And I'll be happy for all the Syrians.
Let's keep going.
I'll be happy for all the Syrians here to tell me I'm wrong. So just listen. So the animus against Jews is taught in Syrian educational institutions. And starting from childhood, every Syrian, by the time he's 9 years old, will have learned that Jews are the sons of monkeys and pigs. Refugees who come here will have gone to these schools in Syria. Studies of Syrian school curricula show that practically every Syrian refugee will have been taught to hate, especially Jews. I have the data. You have the data. We'll discuss it. A study of Syrian textbooks written in 2000 shows that the regime works to indoctrinate children with the idea that their duty is to wage jihad. The study also found that the extermination of the Jews is stated as an obligation in 11th grade textbooks. Okay? Another study published, you know I'm right, and that's why you do. Another study said that Jews were the enemies of Islam, the enemies of all mankind, and the enemies of God himself. Syrian textbooks teach, they do. Syrian textbooks teach that the Holocaust is justified. It's online. And the State Department has documented dangerous invective against the Jews coming from Syrian media. And indeed, on Syrian television, there was a play, maybe if you were there, you saw it, of Jews killing Syrian children and using their blood to make matzah. In 2001, Syria's ambassador to Iran said, and I quote, "Syria has documented the proof that Israel's involvement in the September 11th terrorist attack. In July 21, 2006, a national program proclaimed that the Jews are cursed, and he called them descendants of monkeys and pigs. Another study produced just 2 years ago from the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, which is your kind of organization, said that Syrian schools incite hostility between Sunni and Shia Muslims. Do you really want to import that kind of hostility and discord into the United States? No. Do you really want to welcome hundreds of thousands of people? Yeah. This is a trigger warning. You might feel uncomfortable. Hundreds of thousands of people.
Syrians are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Syrians are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Syrians are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Syrians are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Syrians are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Syrians are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Syrians are welcome here.
refugees who come out of the same deeply disturbing culture, surely we must first gauge the threat they pose and examine the ideas we support.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome to Rhode Island. It's my first visit here, and it's a very great community. Thank you. You know, I had the opportunity to spend 10 years on the House Intelligence Committee. I chaired that committee for 2.5 years. I was the lead Republican for 6.5 years. I got on that committee and, I got on that committee 9 months before 9/11. So for the last 10 years that I spent in Congress, I focused on one issue: how to keep America safe. During that period of time, America, Republicans, Democrats, we did things that were right, mistakes were made. Keeping America safe against the threat of radical Islam is not an easy task. 3,000 Americans died that day. And we learned that this is a threat that's more difficult and more insidious than any threat that we've ever faced. In the last 15 years, we found out that our success against this threat has been very, very limited. Today, we've seen the influence of radical Islam not only has it impacted the United States, but the impact that it's having throughout the Middle East. A caliphate established between Syria and Iraq, a caliphate in northern Africa, based out of Libya, genocide against Christians, against Jews, against gays and lesbians throughout the Middle East. I'm thrilled that the enthusiasm that we see for refugees here to come to America is a shared passion that you also have for the religious minorities throughout the Middle East and Africa that are being persecuted and face genocide in each and every day. It's not an imagined genocide that we see across the Middle East and Africa. It is a real genocide.
Are you stopping the genocide in Palestine?
What Palestine?
This issue is a very simple issue. How do we ensure that we keep America safe at a time of these increased threats? Today we see this threat not only evolving throughout the Middle East, throughout Africa. We see the ugly.
have no heart. No
We see the ugly face of this starting to rear its head. We need to make sure that this threat does not come to the United States. Coming here, and then security tell us how do we expect to keep America safe? We talk about Syrian refugees. I'm sorry, our leaders, our political leaders, the people that are responsible for our national security, Can't even tell you whether the refugees are coming from Syria, whether they're coming from Iraq, whether they're coming from Jordan, or whether they're coming somewhere else. It's a sad state of affairs. But today, Syria, Iraq, Libya, Yemen, and a number of other countries throughout the Middle East and Africa are failed states. Failed states, by their definition, means that you don't have access to the data or the documentation that you need to identify who's actually coming into the United States.
We don't need it.
You may not need it. Our law enforcement, our Homeland Security needs that data because they've not only sworn to uphold the Constitution, they've sworn to do everything necessary to keep America safe. That is the prerogative that we have, that your elected leaders and your law enforcement have to keep America safe and to move forward. That's the process that we go through. It's not about shutting America's doors to refugees. I'm a result of I'm an immigrant. My parents came from Europe in the days after World War II. They came from why many of these refugees want to come to America today. But they went through a process that they were vetted. It was never an open door for everyone. All we're asking for today, what we're seeing today is a process that says our doors are open to those that go through a process that we can identify that they want to embrace American values, that they share our values, and that they don't pose a threat to the citizens of the United States. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm pleased to stand today with those who have come to the State House to give voice to the millions of Americans who, while I didn't say you weren't, would you just shut up? How rude. That's juvenile. I am pleased to stand today with those who have come to the State House to give voice to the millions of Americans who, while wholeheartedly supportive of showing compassion to refugees of violence and war, that be you, are justifiably concerned that our nation's leaders are not acting to safeguard our nation's borders, our communities, and our cultural heritage, beliefs, and values. America's policies in the Middle East have led predictably to rising levels of instability within the predominantly Arab nations in the region. Internal strife, terrorism directed against innocent men, women, and children, ethnic cleansing, and genocide of those who are labeled infidels.
I'm an Arab Christian, and I support my country.
I am here today to announce the establishment of a coalition of pastors, priests, rabbis, other clergy, and members of faith who will speak biblical truth to power and advocate for policies that are consistent with our nation's unique expression of historic Judeo-Christian beliefs and tolerance. destruction in pursuit of their dogmatic and fallacy-laden pursuit of the creation of a socialistic, progressive, and utopian society. We will stand against those who seek to undermine the very existence of our country. Those who seek the destruction of